Hello, this is Professor Grant Thrall, welcoming you to Business and Marketing Geography. An introduction. Business geography describes, explains, predicts geospatial phenomena relevant to improving the business decision. In this course, you will learn about general geospatial patterns and the theories that explain those spatial patterns. The thrust of this course is to systematically progress through universal approaches, geospatial theories, emphasizing implications and applications to current real-world issues. The objective of this course is to build upon the experience that you, the student, have had in an urban built environment. You'll gain a greater understanding and a greater appreciation of urban phenomena. You will learn to subjectively predict the occurrence, the locational presence of urban built phenomena. This class will also deal with more abstract concepts, such as how to deal with the spatial diffusion of ideas and economic impulses across time and location, everywhere in our world and every when in our world. Summarizes our grading and our reading materials. Mainly our reading materials are going to be on the internet and also internet videos. Prior to this becoming an online hybrid internet course, the major body of this course was upon my lecture, and what I have done is I'm converting my lectures into online media. So the subject of the course, the content of the course will remain the same from previous semesters, with updates to represent the current body of knowledge and current phenomena, but it's mainly lecture, internet readings, video. I encourage you to work together with teams, get together, and other than for material that you need to hand in to me for grading, that material needs to be done on your own, must be done on your own. This is a brief summary of the content of the course. First is why business geography? Why do we do business geography? What is business geography? What kind of careers can you do in business geography? A lot of people haven't heard of business geography before. 85% of retailers' assets are in their real estate. 25% of all businesses' assets are in real estate. And what gives that real estate value to the corporate, so we're dealing with corporate real estate, is its location. And business geography is the science of real estate location. Geospatial economic trends is second. We'll describe, explain, and predict why economic growth occurs where and when it does. There are various constraints on relative spatial location, and we'll deal with some of those. Spatial diffusion, how phenomena, including ideas, opportunities for entrepreneurism, and even cities spread across space through time. Population change. We'll look at world, national, state, and local demographic composition and trends that impact our business decisions, trends that will be with you for the remainder of your lives. Perhaps most important in the business decision is the demographic composition of what is near to the business, but the world is becoming smaller, and in terms of access and time of access, and therefore all of the world must be understood to be successful in the business going into the future. Quality of life, fifth. What makes for a sustainable quality of life in the urban built environment? Which cities have high quality of life, and how do we measure that? And which do not? Where do we expect the quality of life to be high in the future? And how does that benefit the place? Versus low in the future? And how does that provide obstacles to greater quality of life for those cities in the future? Marketing demographics. We in business geography have special spatial ways of dealing with demographic data. And this has become standard in multi-branch retail, but I will introduce you to the concepts, and at least you'll understand why you are marketed to in the way you are, but also you'll be able to understand what goes on in business today. The value platform. The value platform is the total shopping experience, from the creation of an image, to the customer's acquisition of the good, to the consumption of the good, to the taste that lingers after that good has been consumed. It has a very strong geospatial component to it, and we can measure it. Public versus private goods, one of the least understood topics by the average citizen, and therefore very important that we deal with, is what goods really should and must be provided by the public sector, the same private sector, and provided by either or both, depending upon how society views the goods as being meritorious. We'll go through some very precise definitions of public and private goods. Land value and land use. We'll go through the general great theories of land value and land use, including some of my own work. Retail, central place theory. Not all places have equal opportunities for retail and services economic development. It depends a lot on relative spatial location, and that is the basis of central place theory. That's what its intent is. Geospatial components to business finance. This has been an overlooked topic, certainly in the news media, certainly in the popular press, but also by academics, particularly in economics. But the recent financial problems, problems and issues and turmoil in the financial sector has made those of us in the interface between economics and geography reevaluate the importance of the geospatial component to economic forecasting and to the finance industry. Retail measurement of trade areas. How do you draw where a trade area is on a map? What do we do with the trade area? Trade areas are thought of as being the first and required step in any appraisal. Comparables must come from a trade area, a neighborhood. Well, how do we define that? And market analysis. We need to understand what a trade area is to perform a market analysis for the valuation of a retail place and the potential for that retail place. Why does manufacturing locate where it does and where it does not? Where is it unlikely for manufacturers to be in the future? And where are their manufacturing development potentials? Spatial housing issues. One of the fundamental assumptions of perfect competition is that the consumption of one person is independent of the consumption of another person. But in housing, we know that's not true. We have a lot of interdependence. What your neighbor does in consuming a house directly affects you as a neighbor of that neighbor. And that's interdependence of utility. So to understand the housing market, we have to understand the interdependence of utility and understand what a neighborhood is. That gets us back to what is a trade area. And then we go to, finally, the city of the mind, how people perceive the geospatial composition of the city, which is actually more important than what the actual geospatial composition of the city is. So if one just relies upon the accuracy of measurement of the GPS device or geographic information systems, the answers may not reflect the reality of the population's behavior in that space.